So one of the things that we want to do today is actually give a little bit more color from the perspective of convergence. So you're going to get to hear from a number of different voices, not only the expertise they have in the disciplines they're in, but also just a little bit more about how we perceive the change of the industry and what's going on. So along with other presentations, you're going to get some of our team members. We're going to start off with somebody who in most circles requires no actual introduction because everybody knows him as the person that puts on the events and as the keynote for most of them. And I'll let him give you more color as he would like. Kevin Williams. He's going to talk to you a little bit today about out-of-home entertainment.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you very much for making the time to hear my poor ramblings. I'd like to thank Andy and the team. They've done a great job bringing this all together. It's a phenomenal undertaking. It's always nice to be at the beginning of something new and something that is going to have such an effect on the bigger picture. And really that's where I come in. I run something called KWP, which is a consultancy that runs in something that some of you may be familiar with, may not be familiar with, which is the out-of-home entertainment market. And I will go into a little bit more detail about what I mean by out-of-home entertainment. But as we've heard yesterday, some of the excellent presentations, the disruption that we're seeing that the blockchain is creating is having an immense impact on what we would call frictionless payment in our sector, pay for play. When I talk about the out-of-home entertainment market, I am actually referring to the entertainment that people derive from being out of home. Pretty simple, of course. But from what I do as a consultant, I'm an ex-Walt Disney Imagineer. I've also worked in the amusement side as well as the consumer game side. And what we've been trying to do over the years is to come up with a package, a platform, a handover that allows the individual to get off the couch, because there's a lot of stuff that they can do at home, and go out and play and enjoy, because we're social animals. That's why we don't all drink at home all the time, other than myself. Most of us are wanting to go out with our friends, and that's a part of the social media tools. We want to also show our friends that we're having a good time, and a lot of what we do in the out-of-home entertainment market covers that. KWP works with a lot of the companies that are either developing the facilities, the companies that are creating the content and the hardware that goes into those facilities, and we also deal with the investment companies now. And intellectual property, IP, is something you're going to be hearing a lot about. Marrying your Star Wars film brand to a really compelling theme park ride or theme park hotel is a component of the future. A phrase that defines a lot of this market is experiential. So anyway, from Andy's point of view and really the team at Silicon Nexus, we work on a lot of startup projects, a lot of concept projects. And it's not always the case that we get involved with a project that we get very passionate about. And it was clear from the vision of what Silicon Nexus was going to represent that this was something that was going to be a game changer, literally in our sector. But let me explain to you what I mean by our sector. The digital out-of-home entertainment sector is really an amalgamation of a number of spheres of influence. For the colorblind, the big green Venn diagram blob there represents a portion which we would call the Amusement Family Entertainment Center, what would have traditionally a few years ago have been called the arcade industry, the video arcade industry. The amusement industry hasn't died, it hasn't been killed off by the consumer sector. What's happened is that it's been incorporated into the family entertainment mix. It's in the shopping mall, it's in the bowling alley, it's in the cinema sector. The large purple blob there is the attractions, the theme park, the resort sector. A lot of the theme park industries now is pivoting their machine and going from a passive, you sit there and just watch the world go by kind of experience, to literally you taking part in a game narrative while in the attraction. And that's something I'll go into in a little bit more detail in the presentation. The orange blob, just to be Kanterian, represents the retail and the hospitality sector. Retail-attainment, an awful word, but it is a component of the new generation. Having people dwell longer in your shopping mall, in your retail store, in your department, your grocery environment, is essential because of the way that the internet has killed the retail experience. A lot of people are now just going into shopping malls to use them as places to window shop, to evaluate before they buy online. And the retail industry is working very hard to try and keep people longer and spend longer within their facilities. Same with the hospitality industry. The perfect dwell time in the food business is, of course, the 3-hour mix. And they're looking at trying to come up with technologies that work with the family, that work with the social groups, that bring the millennials in. The yellow blob is the interesting one. It's the edutainment, another of those construct words that's very painful. Edutainment usually means fitness is boring, let's play some games while I'm exercising, exergaming. But also the expo market is in there as well. Education or edutainment, another awful word, are components. The millennial does not have the same patience as the predecessing generation, and they have to come up with mixes and matches that will work in compelling those individuals into listening about the history, listening about the opportunities and the education that's trying to be imparted. And so we're seeing museums and galleries and visitor attractions adding that kind of theme park elements to them. There's a lot of throwback, there's a lot of arguments. Some creators of museums get very angry thinking that they're turning their facilities into a theme park, but we have to understand that it's the audience we're targeting. So a couple of years ago, if you'd seen this presentation, and you were still awake at this point, you would have seen two gray blobs. The top gray blob is the consumer games industry. And the consumer games industry represents a vast conglomerate, a multi-billion-dollar sector that really has impact in all of these spheres, but it's not an industry that we directly target in out of home. Well, that's changed, obviously. I've said IP, intellectual property, is important, and so we're seeing video games now being injected into the theme park experiences, into the video game experiences. The other gray blob, which is now a blue blob, is the gaming industry. And a couple of years ago, the bricks and mortar, the land-based casino industry just woke up to the point that Charlie don't surf, that the millennials do not play the craps, do not play the blackjack, do not play the roulette machines as much as their parents did, their grandparents did. And panic ensued, and they've now gone into, they've come out of bunker mode, and they've positioned themselves to push forward the applications of coming up with socially inclusive entertainment, and that's where you hear about skill gaming. And again, I'll go into that in a little bit more detail later on in this presentation. So just taking one part of those Venn diagrams, you suddenly see how crowded and complicated a market, for you without binoculars, the big blobs there we're seeing are theme parks and cinemas and visitor attractions, shopping malls, leisure facilities, bowling alleys, laser tag. We are surrounded constantly by out-of-home entertainment, even though we don't really have it thrown in our faces as we used to do. It is a component of the entertainment experience, and one of the individuals that I consult with and who also works in the retail and the hospitality sector, guy called Randy White, has sort of broken down the percentages of how much the millennials spend on out-of-home entertainment. And when we say out-of-home entertainment, it's a big mix. There's the eating, the dining component, but then there's the game, the playing component, there's the drinking component, which has an impact here in the US, of course, because of the 21 years of age restrictions on that. All of these are trying to delve for the entertainment spend. And again, it makes it very difficult for our technology, for our drive to get visibility. So anything that we can do to draw people in, to have a great time cost effectively, or even to offer them the ability to generate more revenue is compelling. And you'll see how much that has to play with the new technology that we've been talking about over the last 2 days. So let me give you a broad picture of the technologies that we're talking about. The amusement industry has passive experiences. Here you see a ride which you sit on, select a movie, and away you go. This is really a miniature theme park attraction squeezed into a coin-operated entertainment system. Great for all ages, very simple to operate for the venue, and it is a machine that has proven itself very compelling over the years. Again, IP, intellectual property married to a video game shooting gallery experience in an enclosure offering a motion seat. So you can see the convergence now. We're taking well-known intellectual property, we're taking well-known gameplay, we're taking well-known theme park style applications, and we're converging them together into packages that can be delivered into smaller and smaller facilities. You don't need to build $1 billion theme park, you don't need to build $1 million resort entertainment. You can now scale down the entertainment to a package that can fit into a shopping mall, into an entertainment facility, a bowling alley. It's the draw. The boxes from our heyday of coin-operated arcades, the Lunar Landers and the Space Invader machines have been sadly thrown into the rec rooms of the rich, and now the amusement machine has to compel to draw. They're big boxes of delights. They are strong and compelling entertainment systems that offer a level of engagement that is socially inclusive. You're not playing on your own. No one goes into an entertainment facility on their own unless they're a fool like me that works in the industry. Everybody goes in a group. Everybody wants to be part of a group. We have something also called redemption. And redemption is really the throwbacks to the carnies, to the carnivals and to the hucksters. It's the skill games, it's the simple games where at the end of a very short play session you get a big selection of tickets, and those tickets get transferred into a really bad pencil eraser. It's a compelling draw for a very young audience. It is, as one of my friends calls it, kiddie cocaine, but it is still a component of the entertainment aspect. And again, with all things that apply to the younger audience, the digital experience has been rubbed into this, and so we have now redemption, video redemption machines. Very strong, very popular, and again, you can see that they're using the intellectual properties, the Crossy Roads, that the kids will be familiar from their mobile game apps, the Spider-Mans, even the Space Invaders. Even the classic arcade products have a lineage that can still be monetarized into this sector. Virtual reality, it's everywhere. For some of us, we've been through the roller coaster of virtual reality a couple of times, but again, it is a compelling entertainment medium that offers a socially inclusive game experience, which is what everybody wants. So here you see a product that offers 4 players the ability to jump into a virtual experience where they can compete with each other, they can have a fun time together. You can't achieve that using the home system. So again, this is where out-of-home entertainment has a lead on what you do in the in-home entertainment applications. Again, scaling down the theme park experience and turning it into a package that can be dropped in, parachuted into any kind of facility out there. We have 4D experiences. 4D defined as offering physical effects along with 3D visuals, along with a motion-based seat. It is interesting to see that the cinema industry is actually now borrowing a lot of these clothings, and you have things like the XD theaters that are being put into a number of megaplex cinemas. Again, it's offering something more than the individual can get at home. Unachievable at home is a phrase that we try and use quite a lot in our sector. We don't want you doing experiences or entertainment that is comparable with what you can do with a console game machine or what you can do on your mobile phone. If you can do something like shooting aliens on your console with your friends, then we have to move it to the next level. We have to be one step ahead in our industry, and it's an interesting position to be in because we take the plowshares of what the theme park industry does and we scale it down and make it applicable for a wider application. From a passive ride film experience to an interactive film experience. Again, borrowing from the tradition. The shooting gallery carnival experience is now turned into a 4D interactive motion experience. But again, the content is digital, and this is a big factor in our sector. Click of a mouse, it's a new piece of content. Click of a mouse, it's seasonally changed. So you're playing your cowboy game, and then click of a mouse, it's the Christmas-themed version of that cowboy game. Click of a mouse, it's the Halloween horror experience of that. Without, from an operator's point of view, of having to pull the whole experience down and rebuild it and then retheme it, we can use digital content and quickly change and improve this experience. So we have to look at some of the other implications of this technology beyond the traditional, what I would call out-of-home entertainment, amusement venue or gaming center. We're now seeing it applied in retail, as I was saying earlier. Interactive marketing. Very interesting approach. So it's a very simple system, projection screen, and the kids moving through the projected screen interact with the images. They turn their bodies into the joystick in the experience. Hard to monetize, but from the opportunity of a retailer, this can be used as a marketing and branding tool. Their intellectual property can be put front and center into the face of their customer. They can draw in a younger audience. It's a compelling argument. Physicality is another aspect that we're seeing a lot of in our sector. Not just using a joystick or a game con or playing with the touchscreen, but actually having physical elements that the people can run around and play. The interactive laser mazes, the interactive cube and button pushing games, again, built for 4 people, built for 8 people, built for 6 people. Social, interactive, compelling, physical. Take a climbing wall. Add a projection system, add a tracking system, add a decent game content, and suddenly you have an interactive climbing wall. And suddenly you see that link between physical energy, fitness, all of these sectors are beginning to converge. You have a game that utilizes already existing climbing wall technology and can be instantly updated to be either playing Pong or playing a Space Invaders type game or a Flappy Birds type game. Click of a mouse. And it's a revenue generation. Most climbing walls, very hard to utilize those to generate reliable repeat venue revenue. But here, you've turned it into a giant video game. Location-based entertainment is a term that we use in our sector to really cover the whole of the facility. So where a number of the machines that I've just shown you previously would be dropped into a facility, here you're now seeing the whole facility, the whole ball of wax. The cinema industry is constantly concerned. The North American ticket sales, even though we have fantastic blockbuster films coming out on a daily basis, it feels like, the audiences aren't there. And we're seeing a drop-off in North American sales by 16% on last year, some estimates of 20% for this year. So the cinema industry is trying to find ways to draw the audience back, to try and encourage them. And for people of a certain age, they'll recognize the big screen as stereoscope. So what's old is new. The idea of creating a totally immersive big screen experience is one way to deal with the problem. And companies like Barco, who make the projectors for the cinema industry, are looking at this type of technology. Michael Bay is producing films exclusively for this kind of format. Again, a means to bring in an audience, utilizing a well-known intellectual property. We're seeing the foyers of cinemas now turned into entertainment facilities. So the old traditional cinema arcade has been swept away by history and now is coming back as a virtual reality, as an experiential center, linked in with the films. So before you go in to see Blade Runner, you can try the Blade Runner virtual reality experience. Virtual reality and movies have been married closer and closer together. Our friends at IMAX have invested a considerable amount of money, about $48 million, into taking over foyers at some of the leading cinemas that they're involved with and turning them into virtual reality arcades. It's an experiment that they've been trying, and as a consultant, I'd like to be as honest as possible. It's a difficult transition for them. And then you've got the full-on virtual reality walk-around backpack experience. Our friends at The Void have raised quite a considerable amount of money and worked with companies like Sony Pictures and Disney. You put on the head-mounted display, you put on a computer backpack, you take your force feedback gun, you're pushed into an experience, and you take part in an element of the film. You are drawn into the experience. You can smell the marshmallow from the marshmallow monster. You can feel the vibration of the floor. You can feel the pulse rifle working. So they've done that for Ghostbusters, and they've just released the same experience for Star Wars. Again, when you put the helmet on and the backpack, you're suddenly a stormtrooper. You've suddenly got a stormtrooper blaster in your hand. You're suddenly blasting Boba Fett and all of the others. It is that kind of game experience linked to a film for an audience that is now the new compelling entertainment experience. And then we have what some of us call laser tag 2.0. Rather than running around a sticky-floored laser tag arena with a whole load of 9-year-olds screaming their heads off, you can now put on a backpack, a virtual reality headset, and run around a virtual environment with a whole load of screaming 9-year-olds. The experience is totally changeable. It is a digital environment. So again, at the click of a mouse, you're on a space station. Click of a mouse, you're on an alien planet. Click of a mouse, you're blasting the hell out of Mario. It is that kind of experience that can be quickly changed, also that creates the repeat visitation that everybody wants. What we mean by repeat visitation is not that the individual comes once to your site and goes, that was great, I'm never going to come back again. It is the draw to bring them back again and again and again. And a lot of retail units now are dropping in virtual reality arcades. Again, the jury's out. We're talking about experiences that are really aimed at filling the gap between, excuse me about this. Everybody knows that I'm traveling. Why the hell am I being called at this time? Sorry. Virtual reality being dropped into a retail sector offers a chance for people who want to purchase the consumer system to try it. But in reality, most people don't have the nous or the technical skill to have the top quality virtual reality systems at home. Having entertainment facilities that incorporate that technology open up a great opportunity for us. And again, it is a stepping stone from trying it and then being immersed in a proper entertainment facility that will have constant game updates. The theme park industry is concerned about interactivity, and so they're rubbing in a little bit of technology. We have roller coasters now that use virtual reality headsets, so if you're not scared the bejesus out of you by riding the roller coaster conventionally, we can double scare the whammy out of you by putting a head-mounted display on. Interesting thing. So when we started consulting on projects like this, you're blindfolding someone and sticking them on a roller coaster. Oh, great, this is going to be vomit-inducing. No, it's the other way around. That blindfold, that digital experience actually calms a lot of people. People that would not normally go on that roller coaster are actually prepared to try it because they're blindfolded in a digital experience. So sometimes it can be used as a downer as well as a raiser of the experience. If you've got an experience attraction, why not turn it into a virtual reality experience? So you have bumper cars, normal bumper cars, quite fun. Stick some virtual reality helmets on, and that vehicle that you're ramming into isn't your sister, but it's Mario, or it's Luigi, or it's a Grok, or it's an alien from Predator. It's all of these things. You can digitally immerse the individual in a new experience, marrying the physical with the digital. And now we're talking about IP transference. So if you have digital entertainment systems and if you have big experiences, you don't just have to stick them in a theme park. You can stick them in a parking lot. So we have now the return of the traveling experience. Remember I said about the carnival rides? Well, guess what? We're even copying the carnivals themselves. We're sticking digital interactive entertainment facilities in shopping malls, parking lots around core market demographics. Phoenix, Dallas, where we know there's an audience. It's too expensive to build a theme park of a certain stature there, but we can drop in a plug-and-play entertainment facility and offer an experience that is compelling. And the nice thing about some of these projects, the money comes out of the marketing deal. So the cash that would normally have gone into advert spaces for the new film goes into a traveling experience. So we get triple bite of the cherry. As I said previously, theme parks are now rubbing in a little bit of video games. So we have Plants vs. Zombie turned into a 36-seater shooting experience where everybody has fun, collects a score, and that's that compelling dwell time. You're scoring, you're not just sitting there and experiencing something, so there's an encouragement for the kids and for the players to come back again and try and improve on those scores, to try and collect the hidden Mickeys that are litter at the game experience. Excuse me a minute. That's the problem with being in America. The English want you, and then when you're in America, in England, the British don't want you. So the issue here with trying to offer a compelling experience that's digital, virtual reality has limitations. Head-mounted displays, musses hair up. You have to think about the hygiene aspects. So we are also working now on next-generation technology, which is using projection mapping, where you create an environment and then you superimpose projected images on top of those physical items to offer a really compelling and interactive experience that doesn't have to worry about changing the whole show set, the whole physicality. So here, Goofy's Paint House, all of the things you can see are physical, but the items on top of them are digital. So the chair animates and then turns into a captain's chair or turns into a stool. The TV animates, and that means you can shoot everything, offering the shooting gallery experience, offering the Carney experience, offering a compelling and driving video game experience. So you're speaking the language of the children, you're speaking the language of the teenagers, and you're speaking at least the language of the adults, and offering a repeat visitation experience. Dining. I talked about hospitality. Now we're wrapping people in a dining experience. Projected tables, so rather than looking at a menu, you can click a button and you can see a digital representation of the meal that you're going to eat, hopefully. You can wrap the people in an undersea experience or on top of a mountain experience. So that adds to the social inclusion, the social experience, the experiential dining process is a factor that we're looking at now. And also you can start playing around. Once you have a digital experience, you can start using aromas and wafting through, and you can start turning the dining experience into a gaming and an entertainment experience. We say customization. Technology allows us to customize it, and so not having menus and using projected surfaces also offers fantastic additional services. You can go for digital animation and show people meals that they would not normally have because they're looking at a sterile menu and they're not quite sure what is meant by that fancy French word. You can show them a representation of that. You can have bars now which use digital countertops. So it knows what drink it is using barcode recognition. It also knows when the drink is empty. And you can start playing around with the social games. You know, you can start linking glasses together that are drinking the same kind of drink, and you can then start playing the game of flirting with other people. You can play video games and, of course, advertising. You can push up advertising onto those. But again, it is the added sale, the ability for a barman not to have to keep on looking to see when the glass is empty, but the system to actually tell him. Not having to remember what drink he's just poured, the system will tell him. That's on the back of the house. On the front of the house, it's a fun experience. You can start matching glasses. You can start playing games that are part of the terminal. As I said, have it your way, customization. I don't know how many of you have seen the multi-deck systems that Coca-Cola have just released, but it allows over 200 different drinks combinations. Again, you can marry them to your mobile phone. So I've been playing around with Dr. Pepper and a little bit of Gatorade. You have to push the buttons and get the formula right, and then click, it's remembered on your phone, and away you go. Same in hotels. Rather than having a complicated bar, they're giving you loyalty cards where you can select the wine that you like. Beer taps in loyalty bars, in restaurants, and in hotels that allow you to pick your beer. Customization is another part of the digital experience. I was talking about museums. Museums need to attract the millennials and to imply their message, so a lot of them now are using simulators, a lot of them are using themed entertainment experiences. Alternate reality, difference to virtual reality, so you can have the skeleton of the dinosaur, and now using digital technology seen through a viewer, you can skin that dinosaur. You can offer a much more compelling opportunity for the exhibits in your facility to be promoted to the max. Most museums only use 8% of their collection on display. Using digital technology, 100% of that inventory can now be shown to the public. And as I said previously, fitness. Fitness is very boring. Those that do it, I wouldn't know. The issues here are that the spin classes, very social on their own, but added with a digital screen, wired up to each of the cycles with an interactive narrative, and you can make exercise more compelling. And from the gym and the fitness industry's point of view, we can encourage people to come in and spend more time. Rather than just buying a membership and never using it, we can compel them to come in so they can enjoy a social experience, and it's all part of the mix. I'll just quickly go through the casino industry. As I said before, the blue. We've always had that social aspect since the beginning of video games to draw people together. Now we're seeing esports as a big audience generator. The casino industry is working very hard to try and get the millennials in, as I said earlier, and we're seeing things like skill gaming. So what would look very similar to a video game has now got a wagering component to it. And there's a lot of investment being put into that kind of approach. Again, using well-known intellectual properties, married to an interactive experience with wagering. So the guy in the glass tube has already paid to play, but it's the people outside that are now wagering to see how many zombies are going to be eating him in a couple of minutes. That's the kind of experience that our friends in Vegas are looking at. I've talked about all of these lovely pay-for-play opportunities, but fundamentally, how do the players pay for that? We are an industry that has been brought up on coinage. We've loved, since the days of the carny, the ability to deal in cash. We moved from cash when we found in our industry that we were changing too much currency into coinage that other people, other venues could use. So suddenly we created specialized tokens. The phrase token is still with us today. But our industry has also migrated to the next generation. Frictionless payment, contactless payment is the big thing. In Europe, in London especially, you're seeing the death of conventional currency replaced for near-field tap-and-go payments. And it's that kind of frictionless payment infrastructure that is driving more and more interest in our industry, because rather than having to handle coinage, we can now handle electronic payment. So the amusement industry back in the 90s started to invest quite considerably in looking at how to apply contactless payments, e-payments, smart cards as a means to remove payment infrastructure from our operations. A number of the Japanese facilities even started to play around with the use of the mobile phone as a means to pay for the experience. A number of family entertainment centers in the West took the message and removed all of their coin-op systems and started to put swipe cards. And then the theme park industry got wise, and they have now decided to remove the paper ticket from their experience and start to employ contactless payment systems. For a theme park, you'd say, well, what's the point? They don't charge individually for theme park rides yet. The ability of using contactless payment means that not only can you control the audience of where they move through the facility, making certain attractions more attractive because you have a wristband and you're part of their membership group, but also it allows you to track where the most popular of your attractions are, even the most popular locations of your park. There's another aspect, of course, about all of these electronic payment systems, and that's the bog-off, buy one, get one free. The ability to offer special deals. So if you have a whole arcade facility that's empty, on a Wednesday, click of a mouse, you can make it half Wednesday, half price. It is that flexibility with a loyalty card, with an experience that is really proving compelling. Again, I was saying earlier about the heat map, the ability to track where people are moving through the experience. This actually comes from the grocery industry, from the shopping mall and the retail industry using special tracking technology. They can see where the hot areas are, where the cold areas are, why no one is going to that ice cream center over there. Let's move that over there into the hot area, or why there is a log jam near the ticketing system. Using this kind of technology, also married to swipe card technology, and you can start shaping the facility to be more applicable, more attractive to the audience that you're trying to keep in your location, the dwell time. And then that comes to payment. If you're going to be using payment, then why do you have to go with current currency? The opportunity that we're seeing now with the blockchain is that we can look at a much different payment infrastructure. And that comes to a real big problem. Because if you start taking new types of payment, then that also means that you can develop your facilities with new types of payment. And if you're going to develop your facility with new types of payment, and you're also using digital experiences, and you need to have a lot of digital experiences, it needs to be compelling and constantly rolling. And now you can use a totally different way to fund the content that goes onto the facility, to fund the way that the individual pays for that experience. And by tracking the audience, you can see what they like and what they don't like. Suddenly we have a complete circle. We're in an industry now where having it your way doesn't just mean how that soft drink comes out or what glass of wine you're getting from that machine, but actually the experience that you're partaking on. And it's a three-way market. It is the experience before you decide to go to that facility. It is the experience when you're at that facility, and it is the experience after. Because the next step is quite simple. I'm in the out-of-home entertainment industry, and I'm going for the in-home industry. Because at the moment, the consoles, the consumers, the mobile phone industry has no contact with my market other than how I allow them. If I want to use Angry Birds as a theme park attraction, I have to go to them, or they come to me, and we agree to develop a content package that utilizes that content. The future for us is, if we have blockchain financing, we tell them when to get off the train. We tell them when to add it to a console. We tell them when we want the mobile phone, and we also tell them that the mobile phone is active when it comes into the theme park, and they're using their phone to pay for the experience. Can you see this? Full circle entertainment. The only thing that's missing is having AI involved to tell us which games are going to do popular, I think. But I really need to ram this point home. How we play and how we enjoy leisure has been totally changed by the internet, has been totally changed by digital technology, as I've shown you through the presentation. The next step is now coming with how financing and paying for that experience is going to be changed. Anyway, you've had to suffer me for long enough. I'm going to just give you a takeaway to consider. Number one, I like the out-of-home entertainment industry. I think you've worked that one out. We're here to drive an audience that is hungry for experiences to our facilities. We're here to offer group experiences for families, for social groups, for media. And we're using gamification, the ability to play video games within a unique immersive experience to draw them back again and again. And it's obvious to some people that, if you're competing for a high score, then, maybe you give them a tournament prize at the end of it. And if they're the top scorer, maybe they get that big cardboard check. And maybe that cardboard check won't have a dollar sign by it, but it'll have a droid token next door to it. You can see why the casino industry likes us. Anyway, thank you very much. Big plug. I've left some cards on your tables. That's for the book. We go into a lot more detail about the out-of-home entertainment sector there, and it's linked into a conference that we also run. So if you have any questions, please hit us up on that. And if there's any questions, Jay, do we want to play that game now?
Yeah, sure. Anybody want to take advantage of having Kevin here to give us the
I've bored you
expertise
long enough. I'm here for... Oh, no, please. Sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much, my native countryman, to make me feel proud.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Is there any future-proofing studies you've done? Because I'm seeing that you've started in one area. You crossed to the area where now, because of cryptocurrency, you can really create the whole thing. And instead of, the money's coming to the brand, like you illustrated with the Angry Birds, right? How
Yeah.
it would be. What are the future-proof things that you see that can happen in advance? Have you thought of any future-proof situation? Thanks.
I'm a consultant. The only person that can give you proper future-proofing is an undertaker. The physical points are that if I knew what the future was, I'd be sitting on a beach earning 20% right now. What I can tell you is that flexibility is the best approach. You need to be receptive to the widest possible opportunities. And I've broken them down into the three core elements, which is obviously intellectual property, a frictionless payment infrastructure, and a compelling offering. That's very, very basically what that presentation has shown you. What I can say about the future is that it's moving incredibly fast. And with that speed, it needs more and more money. Like any steam train needs a lot of coal and a lot of water to increase its pace. And I can't see traditional investment means achieving that. And that's why I'm incredibly excited about what Silicon Nexus is achieving. Any other questions? Well, I'm here all day. I'm the guy holding up the bar. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. Who knew we were reinventing the token that drives out-of-home entertainment? But again, blockchain is going to touch everything in our lives, and cryptocurrencies are going to be drivers.